You can learn by doing, but while you're doing, you have to be learning.
Even this podcast, every single time we record a podcast, I become a little bit more comfortable on camera.
Yep.
I become a little bit more comfortable on hearing my own voice. And I think I've become a little bit better on the podcast.
Absolutely. You are going to suck when you start something, no matter how much training you have. If you go to a surgeon and it's like, hey, this is my first day as a full-fledged surgeon, I'm going to cut the top of your skull off and I'm going to operate on your brain.
I'm going to run.
Like, no. I'm going to take the person who's done that a bunch of times before, right? I don't want the person who has just finally earned the badge of full-fledged, I'm no longer, doing my residency or whatever. Like, that's not who I want to operate on my brain. So no matter how much you study, you're actually also coming in still as, I still have to learn while I'm doing. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Interracial Couple Podcast.
Wait, it's not all black and white. My name is Sarah. I'm black.
I'm Matthew. I'm white. And today we will move right into learning by doing.
Learning by doing.
It's one way to learn.
I took a relationship course. That's why I'm so great at this relationship.
Oh, you did? Did you also, before you were born, did you take a life study course so that you knew exactly when you came in, how to be a great kid, how to do everything just right, and then you were, fully prepared, right?
No.
No?
Sadly, no.
So
that was a joke. I did not take a relationship course.
Well, did you take a relationship course called I've been in several, some of them were really tragic, and now here I am.
I think people should take relationship courses.
Before
you get into a relationship.
Yes.
Because you watch movies and you think that what a relationship is. Mm-hmm. And then you're in one and you're like, oh my God.
Wait a second. This shit's hard. Or I always love it, teenagers, when they're figuring out relationships or things with their own sexuality, what do? They go talk to other teenagers. And I'm like, who are you talking to? They don't know anything. You're going to the wrong people.
And they're like, my friend gave me this advice. I'm like, how old is your friend? 14, 17. Right. They know nothing.
Right, yeah. Or you're in your 20s. What are you doing? You're going to people in their 20s who are, guess what, also struggling. But here's the thing. So this is why we said learning by doing is the topic, and I think there are, right now too, some people are questioning, do I really want to go to college? Is that, is it worth being in a lot of debt? Or should I just learn by doing? And, and I don't know exactly. The answer to that is going to be different for everyone. But this question of learning by doing is generally how we do most of our life.
Correct. Yeah. I did not take a relationship course. I had a lot of relationships that sucked and some were good. And so I just took what worked and what didn't work. And here I am. You are
the perfect person to be in a relationship with. And I'm not being facetious. You are the perfect person to be in a relationship with.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. I could not, I don't think it would be possible to be with
thanks to all the people that I've dated before.
Yes.
I practiced.
Right.
Thank you for the practice.
Right. I appreciate it too. Thank you for screwing up, for all the mistakes that you made and let her make with you. So that way, by the time she got to me, she was
perfect.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about perfect, but you're definitely like an A student. You definitely come with high honors.
Oh, thank you, love.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think you're right. Most of the things that we do in life, you just have to jump in and learn as you go.
Right. And don't you think it also holds a lot of people back? In most things in life is I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to record a song, so therefore I'm not going to do it. Or I don't know how to start a business, so therefore I'm not going to do it.
And I think once you start doing, you actually learn. I think there are two things, when you just jump into doing, I'm not just saying jump and don't study other people. I feel successful relationship have clues. You can see those people have been in a relationship for a long time, maybe ask for some advice. I'm not saying jump in and don't ask for advice. I'm saying jump in and look at people, look at the people who have good relationship and ask them what they're doing right.
Mm-hmm. The other thing too is a lot of times people, when it comes to relationships or anything that we do, it's when I'm in a relationship and it's difficult, now is a really good time to start to learn about relationships. Like, I'm going to go get a book on how to save your relationship, or I'm going to go see a therapist or whatever. It's like, wait, why are you waiting until it's difficult?
So are you talking to me right now? Because I am our relationship in this moment, at this time of our lives, it's like we don't have a lot of issues.
We don't have a lot of issues, but let's share why we don't have a lot of issues. One of the things I want to say, when we first got together, we made a commitment that we were going to actively work on our relationship together before the problems came. So we've read books together, and we've taken courses together when things were great.
Yeah, I think it was the first couple months after we started dating. We were like, you know what? Let's kind of like see the challenges that we are going to be facing in the future. And we bought a money book. So we were easily able to talk about money.
Mm-hmm. And when we said a money book, it's called The Energy of Money by Maria Nemeth, which I highly recommend. And it's actually one of the reasons why we did it is because there are these practices and exercises and things that are really looking at how your relationship with money is a reflection on your relationship with yourself and other things in the world. So therefore, it was kind of with that backdrop, but there were forgiveness exercises, there were, journaling exercises, there were all sorts of things that we could do that
as a couple. And it also made us like know about each other more, because I think we did it. It took us more than a year to finish that book.
Close to 2, like a year and a half.
Yeah. And there was like a lot of revelation for us in that book. Yeah. So if you're in a relationship, go read that book with your partner.
If that's the issue, but any type of book, so then we were, the other thing that we did was after we'd been together for a year, we went and did the Landmark Forum together.
We did.
And that was something that was funny because that was, I think, January or December when we signed up.
A friend of mine invited me to like what they call like the Tuesday night, which is like graduation. So after you take the course it's a 3-day, all day. It's like, what time does it start? 7, 9 to 11.
It's long days.
It's long days. And so on Tuesday, you emerge as a graduate. And so my friend did it. And she was like, Sarah, I really think that you should come. And I was like, I love my friend and I wanted to be there for her. So I showed up. But I also knew one thing is like, she told me that they were going to like, she thought the program would be great for me and I needed to sign up. And so I was like, Matthew, do you want to come with me so that when they start marketing to me, I don't sign up?
And she knew that I had been like hard pressured by someone who was like calling me, trying to be like, what's wrong in your life? How about, like, why don't you fix it with Landmark? And I was like, dude, after like a certain number of phone calls, I was like, I never want to do the Landmark Forum. So I was super resistant. Anyway, so Sarah knew, like, I am a perfect person to bring because I'm going to be like, no way.
And he was the wrong person to bring.
Turns out.
I was like, I'm not signing up. Like, they were like, what do you want to change? And I was like, I wasn't even listening to what they were saying. I just knew that I went there for my friend and I was not going to sign up. I didn't want to spend the money.
And I've tried to convince Sarah of things she really didn't want to do, and it's mostly a losing battle most of the time.
Yeah, you do not convince me. I do not get easily convinced. And you were like, I don't know. I was talking to someone and then I turned around and I was like, you had already signed up.
No, that's not exactly what happened, but it's close to what happened. You were sitting there and someone came up and said, you know what? Someone has just offered to like pay the deposit for someone of my choice. The leader said that and said, I'm choosing you. Would you like to accept that? Because they saw you weren't like that. You were being you. You were not budging. As soon as I heard that, I was like, she's going to do it. I'm just going to go ahead and preempt it and I don't know why I did it.
Really? That's what happened?
Yeah. I was like,
you've never told me.
Yeah. Like I heard that and I was like, you know what? She's going to do it. And at the time I didn't need, you were still a student. So I was like, that's great. You need that. I don't. I went.
So
I signed
surprised. If you're watching this, like you can see my face. I'm just like, you did not tell me that's what happened.
That was that. But I'm not blaming that because the reality is I just went and I was like, I'm doing this. And I don't know why, because it's not something I really wanted to do at the moment. And then I came back and I said, Sarah, I think you should sign up. And this
I
is
was
why.
so annoyed because I was like, Matthew, I brought you here so that you can prevent me from signing up. And now you've already signed up.
But here was why. And it ended up, and it's one of the things that kept us from fighting too much on the way home. We're like, wait, what did we just do? Did we get suckered into paying for some cult or something like that? But it was like, you know what? If this ends up being a total disaster or nightmare, it's still something that we've chosen to do actively for our relationship. And that became this thing of when we were like, oh, wait, that was a lot of money. We just plopped down, unexpected. But we kind of came back to, oh, this is why we're doing it. We're doing it for our relationship.
And it turned out it's honestly the Landmark Forum, and is one of the best education that I've paid for. Yep. And this is not sponsored by Landmark Forum.
But anyways, by the way, Landmark Forum, if you're listening, go ahead and feel free to sponsor us, and we will say a whole lot more things about the Landmark Forum. But anyway, the reason why I was bringing that up is that was something that we did, and then we continued. We went and we did like the advanced course, and we did a seminar together too through the program. Now, is Landmark the end all be all? No. There are other great programs, whatever. The point that I'm making is simply that by choosing to do this together to improve ourselves and our relationship and ourselves for and within our relationship was something that I think is part of leading to the success of our relationship, is that we stay engaged even when things are good. And you joke and call me the prophet of doom because I say, if we're not actively engaged, we're going to wake up one morning and we're going to find ourselves where we don't want to be in our relationship. And I still believe that that it actually takes active engagement. And that's in your same life too. It can happen in a career where you can be like, oh, you wake up 10 years later and like, what am I doing? I hate my career. Or what am I doing? I've like gained, 90 pounds or whatever these things are. You kind of can wake up and say, wait, I didn't see this coming. And so, so really kind of coming back and focusing and preempting and kind of pulling that all the way back into this idea of learning by doing is that you can't fully study a relationship before you're in one.
No, you got to be in one.
But you still need to study and learn while you're doing and not say, I know how to do this.
And it actually makes it easier when you jump in and then start learning, I think. Because let's talk in case of my business. Like people are like, okay, I don't have a business degree. I took some entrepreneurship classes, but there were so many things in my business. There was no way I could have ever thought they were going to come up. And so I just kind of like, sometimes I laugh and I'm like, if someone ever asked me like, can you tell me how you started your business? I was like, I don't even know where to start. I think the point, like what I would just want to say is like, I just went ahead and started because there was no training that would have helped me with all the obstacles and challenges that have helped. Well, I don't know if there would be. I think the training is as I go. I learn new tools and I take training as I go.
Okay, but I'm going to call you out on that a little bit because there are a lot of things that when you started your business that you just felt like, oh, like I was looking at the books you were studying in your courses and thinking, oh, that's really good knowledge to have. Like I never would have known that. And so you actually started a business, not as having studied business, but having taken entrepreneurship classes at Anderson School of Business at UCLA.
I did say I had some training.
And so you did actually have some training. Now, it doesn't mean that I think there's this idea that you can somehow be a master before you start, or that's what it means. Like, I'm going to suck. And I think that's so important. You are going to suck when you start something, no matter how much training you have. If you go to a surgeon and you're like, they went through 8 years of medical school and 4 years of surgeon school or whatever. And now they're coming out and it's like, hey, this is my first day as a full-fledged surgeon. I'm going to cut the top of your skull off and I'm going to operate on your brain.
I'm going to run.
You're like, no. I'm going to take the person who's done that a bunch of times before, right? I don't want the person who has just finally earned the badge of full-fledged, I'm no longer, doing my residency or whatever. Like, that's not who I want to operate on my brain. So no matter how much you study, you're actually also coming in still as, I still have to learn while I'm doing.
There's so many moments in this business where I was like, I have no clue what I'm doing. And so one of the things I gotta do is like, I call a good friend who has been in business and she's been doing it for 30 years. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And she's like, give it time.
Good.
Give it time. You will know what to do.
Yeah.
With time, you will know what to do. Because you're actively, as you had said before, you're actively engaging. And so being actively engaged kind of gives you like solutions to your problems.
Yeah. But you said like, give it time. I want to differentiate that because giving it time doesn't mean waiting.
No.
It means engaging while having patience. Like one of my 7 P's for powerful and effective creating is patience. And be patient. And one of the things that can easily get thought about is I've been patient for a long time, and it's still not coming. It's like, no, if your patience means you're actually actively engaged, just not needing a certain result at a certain time. And in business, that's really important for you because you think, I'm going to build this business in a year and 3 years later.
Oh my God. If you had asked me the first time when I was like making like in class and like writing the vision and everything, I was like, this business is going to be a business within a year. And I was like, no, it's been 2 years and it's still work in progress.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And, our good friends who have created the Magenta Studios, they've been working on building the school for 7 years.
7 years. I was like, you gotta really believe in what you're doing and have trust in what you're offering to the world to be able to say after 7 years, like this is still really good. Like I want this out into the world.
Yeah, even when it's not going smoothly or even when cash flow crunches come or whatever those things are, and so being actively engaged. And I think there's a bit of probably a balance. Obviously my background is as a filmmaker, but I've also run small production companies and stuff. And as an entrepreneur / artist, I think one of the things is that there's always these new things. Right now, the work that I'm doing I'm not doing production and I'm not working with, B2B stuff and the part of filmmaking that's about selling the movie and whatever. It's a different thing. So all of a sudden, it's like the skill set that I've been building lately is completely different. And I don't know if I could have just picked up a book and learned it. Like this is actually a requirement to be engaged and basically to fail and fail and fail and fail and fail.
Even this podcast, as we're talking, is the same thing. I was like, I recorded a crowdfunding video for my business and I looked at the crowdfunding video and I was like, I am so terrible on camera. Like, I could not listen to my voice. I was just like, I do not like my voice. I don't like my face. And so I came to you and I was like, if I'm going to be a business owner, I need to be comfortable being on camera and listening to my own voice. And so I was like, can we start a podcast? And you were like, yeah, sure. And
because I generally say that when you ask me, can we do something? I say, yeah, sure. That's my answer.
And you said something else.
What did I say?
You said, and you are going to suck. And the podcast is going to suck until it doesn't.
Yeah, that's true. I probably said that. I believe that I pretty much tell that to everyone who is starting some endeavor. I'm like, do you enjoy sucking? Because if you do, great, because you're going to suck for a really long time. And then eventually you'll stop sucking.
And so this is what podcast is this? 40 something?
We're in our 40s.
We're in our 40s. Yeah. And I think with the first one, I had a meltdown. I was like, I can't do this, And I look back from that first podcast that we recorded to this 40-something podcast. Is like every single time we record a podcast, I become a little bit more comfortable on camera. Yep. I become a little bit more comfortable on hearing my own voice. And I think I've become a little bit better on the podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think I'll look back if we keep going with this. And my promise was like, I'm going to jump into doing this and we're going to do this for an entire year.
2.
Did I say 2 years?
2 years, 100 episodes before even like going back and like evaluating whether or not it was a big mistake.
Yeah. I was just like, I am just ready to do this. Like, I'm just going to commit to doing this. And here we are. I don't think I could have like learned how to be up on podcast, learn how to be good on video. If I'm not doing it, there's no way to be good at it.
And there's times where we've gone back afterwards and reading things that people say, who have done podcasts and said, oh, I wish I knew this when I started. But you can't almost, because there's no, have you ever had that experience where you've never heard of a word before and all of a sudden you read it and you look it up, and then that word, you hear it like 5 times the next week. And you're like, that's weird. Well, probably the word was there the whole time. You just didn't know it. And therefore your mind just kind of went past it. And it's that way, I think, with learning anything, which is that if you can't relate it to something else, you don't have anything to attach it to in order for it to be something you can really use in your life. So yeah, learning by doing,
I think that's what learning should be, is like really learning by doing.